Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to print on shrink plastic to make some cute pins. If you haven't watched my Shrink Plastic 101 for Beginners video, I highly recommend it since it basically lays down all the basics of shrink plastic you need to know. I'll put an iCard up here and a link down in the description box. So here I have some printable shrink plastic by Graphics. I got them off of Amazon. This particular shrink plastic can only be used with inkjet printer. They do come in both white and clear. Today I'll be using white, and this package comes with 6 sheets. This shrink plastic shrinks to about half its original size. On the package it does say 20% of its original size, and I was really confused to see this at first, because even in the instructions it tells you to make your artwork 50% larger than what you want. But after testing some pieces out, they do shrink to about half. Now in the inside of the package, they have more detailed instructions and tips, but they're very generic. They are not specific instructions for these printable versions. It does say that when plastic shrinks, the colors darken or intensify, but it says nothing about what needs to be done. This is important to know, and I mentioned this in my Shrink Plastic 101 video. As the plastic shrinks, the colors intensify or become very saturated. However, more so on printed version, and more tweaking needs to be done before printing and shrinking. You need to manually lighten the colors on your image, or more specifically, decrease the opacity, and also brighten the colors. If you don't make these adjustments, you will end up with very dark pieces. So, how much to lighten? Well, this is where trial and error comes. Be prepared to sacrifice 1 to 2 sheets to figure this out, since this process can greatly depend on the colors on your image, the program you're using, and even on your printer. You really need to test this out yourself. To make this demonstration simple and universal, I'm going to use graphic design platform called Canva. This is a great tool to use if you make content on social media in general. I have absolutely zero skills with any graphic design softwares, so this is a lifesaver. It's free to use, but you can always upgrade it with monthly subscription to get more add-on features. But since what we're doing for this project is pretty basic, we're okay with the free version. By the way, I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. I just like this platform and use it all the time. Anyway, here's what I did. First, I created an 8.5 by 11 inch canvas, since that is the size of the shrink plastic sheets. Next, I uploaded my artwork. I drew mine using Procreate. Then I sized it to my liking. I also decided to keep the images in portrait position to see the amount of shrinkage in this direction. Shrink plastic usually shrinks more in one direction. I talk more about in my Shrink Plastic 101 video, so make sure to watch that to fully understand what I'm talking about. Now to lighten the colors, I adjusted the opacity under transparency here. And it does scale up to 100%. I decreased to 50. You also need to brighten the colors by adjusting the saturation and the contrast. If you don't do this, your colors will be off or muted. I adjusted mine to 50% on both. Then I downloaded it and sent it off to print. I suggest setting the printer to feed from the rear tray if possible, and set the paper setting to photo paper and at the highest quality. To be on the safe side, leave the ink to dry, even though mine seemed to dry almost instantly. So here is what it looks like. Now let's get to the cutting out the images. Be careful here and take your time with this. When you get to any hard corner like this, make sure you don't keep cutting and forcing it because this will cause the plastic to tear. Instead, switch and cut from the opposite direction towards that corner. I baked mine in a 320 Fahrenheit preheated toaster oven. I usually bake them on a parchment paper with a couple pieces at a time so I have more control over them. Once they flatten out, I took it out of the oven and used a flat object to flatten the pieces as they cool down so they are nice and flat. And here's what they look like after shrinking. As you can see, the colors darkened quite a bit. The image didn't distort at all, so I'm quite impressed how evenly it shrunk in all directions. The texture of the shrunken pieces is very different from the non-printable version. They come out very rough on the surface. Also, there are these tiny teeth around the perimeter. If they bother you, you can actually burnish it with a smooth tool like a bone folder. You can even rub it against a smooth surface like a table. This won't remove them, it's just flattening out those teeth. I wouldn't recommend sanding them off because they don't sand off. You'll end up shearing the plastic instead. Now here's a tip. Because the surface of the plastic is very rough, they are the perfect dust magnets. Lint and dust get stuck on the surface, so make sure you remove them using a sticky tape or a putty before sealing. So, to seal your pieces, you will get the best result if you use a fixative spray to protect the ink from bleeding if you are using water-based sealer such as Dimensional Magic, Glossy Accent, Diamond Glaze, or Mod Podge. If you use water-based sealer straight onto the printed shrink plastic, it will cause the color to change. It will get slightly darker and you will get more of a yellow undertone to it. Also, because it bleeds on a microscopic level, it will affect the definition of your artwork. It decreases to, say, like from HD 1080p to HD 480p. Not a huge difference as you can see on mine, but it becomes more obvious on text and detailed images. Now, when you use with resin, because this printable version has a special coating on it, you don't need to seal the plastic with Mod Podge to increase adhesion. You can apply the resin directly onto the plastic. It will not cause the ink to bleed either. Just be careful because of the rough surface. It can form microbubbles in the resin. I suggest coating the surface with a very thin layer of resin first, then pop any surface bubbles, and then add more resin. So here's how I finished my pieces. First, I painted the sides and the back side with multiple surface black paint. This will give a neat finish to the overall look. Once they were completely dry, I domed the front with UV resin. Once the resin was fully cured, I glued the pin findings using CA glue and applied a coat of UV resin to secure everything in place. And here we have some cute custom-made pins. I'm very happy with how these turned out. In my opinion, printable shrink plastic is trickier to use than non-printable version since it's unpredictable with how the colors will turn out. But once you get the setting all sorted out, these are a great way to make a bunch of custom accessories at once. I hope this video was helpful for those who wanted to try printing on shrink plastic. Please leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. Also, make sure to have the notification bell on so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!